Ready when you are, mate. We're rolling.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Put them down, because otherwise I'll fiddle with them all the fucking time.
Is that your bollocks?
No, it's a deck of cards. Look how dirty they are. If you can see that.
Are they the ones you like just sit and play with?
I sit and shuffle them. I don't know if you can see the ends. You can see the ends where they're all bent up and different shades. Because I sit here all day, just.
Check you out. Wait, I need a fucking flat surface for that.
Hang on.
It's literally going everywhere. I can do that.
I can't do it now. I don't know how to do it. I can't do it up that high. It's not right. But yeah, let's shuffle them all day. Go on, let's go.
Hello and welcome to FDT-TV. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And we are talking things football, especially the Premier League and our teams, Arsenal and West Ham. Ian, it was a bit of a crap weekend for the pair of us. Not great results from both our teams. There's a lot of stuff we need to cover. I don't know about you, but I just feel flat today. You've obviously had a day longer to recuperate. But
no, I don't. I'll tell you what. I'm still taking that result as a one-off and the Newcastle as well. I'm still quite happy with how our season's going. To be fair, it wasn't a great result. It wasn't what I expected, but I'm actually quite content for once.
Whereas I'm just not quite bottom of the pile, but it feels like it really does. But yes, we shall go on to one of our regular fixtures.
One good, one bad.
Yeah.
We're doing one good, one bad first.
I guess so. Sorry, I didn't know. I didn't know what else we were doing. Oh no! I tell you what. Let's reverse this. Let's reverse this because I did make it up. I've missed a vital thing here, haven't I? Goal of the week.
Yes.
Sorry.
So one of our regular features, goal of the week. Every week we run a Twitter poll. It's either going to be myself or Ian that runs the poll, depending on who's available. We had some good contenders for goal of the week this week. We put the poll out to the big Twitter sphere.
I thought you were going to say we put the goal out to VAR and it come back as it was offside.
It was twice, but they still gave the bloody goal. So we put the goals out for the poll this week. We had Paul Pogba,
yep,
Manchester United, Heung-min Son for Spurs, Jamie Vardy for Leicester, and Zaha's first goal for Crystal Palace.
Mm.
The people have answered, Ian.
Go on.
Heung-min Son
Was a belter.
Was the goal of the week winner. Congratulations, you bloody git. I've got to say, I was texting Dan.
Yep.
When that goal went in, and I got a 3-letter word back from him. He just said, "How?" That was it.
Here's the thing, right? Is he can shoot from there, and everyone just let him shoot. But it was well placed. The keeper, I think, could have done more.
Yep.
If he'd taken a step, I think he would have got some fingertips on it and maybe pushed it onto the post. But I mean, I voted in this one partly because I didn't want Pogba's to win. But here's the thing: the reason that I didn't want Pogba's to win was because obviously the ball had gone out of play beforehand. But it's not assist of the week. As a strike from that far out, it was a brilliant strike. I can't fault him for that. But it shouldn't have stood, should it? Come on. We'll get into that later, though, shall we?
Yes.
There's a different segment for that. But no, they were all belters, I think. Really good goals this week. Really good goals. Really enjoyable.
I think for me, Son and Vardy's would be up there for me. And I think Son for the sheer wow factor. I mean, as you said, the defence should have closed him down a bit more. And Leno, when you look at his position and when the ball was struck, just before he turned around and looked to see where he was in his position of the goal. And I think he shuffled back a couple more, but by not being spatially aware of where he was, he left a massive hole for Son to pick, and fair play to him, picked it up. But for Jamie Vardy, for me, I think was a great goal because of the pace of the ball was put through on. He did have a lot to do. He had a defender running down his back, and it was a cool, calm, collective finish right on the 90th or 93rd minute or wherever it was. So it's a big pressure. You need to score this for your team to win kind of goal.
Yeah.
And game, set, match, as Jamie Vardy has proven several times before. So thank you very much for those who voted in the goal of the week. We will have another one next week.
Always. Well, providing it's not all 0-0 draws. Then we'll have miss of the week. Miss of the week. So,
oh, yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Timo Werner would have won that one, wouldn't he?
Oh, my God. I think he hit the post like 2 or 3 times and missed some absolute sitters. Some good saves as well, though.
Yeah.
But he should have scored. He should have scored. Yes. So, Ian, we're coming on to another popular section that featured this on this podcast.
Well, just forget you haven't heard the intro already because right now
We've got one good, one bad.
So
there's a list of things that I can do for our game, but your game was first.
Well, do you know what? I'm positive. I'm a West Ham fan that's positive. If you've never seen one of them before, then you need to subscribe because at the moment it's happening. My one good is the first 60 minutes of that game, especially the first half, first 45, 50 minutes. We were dominating Manchester United. We made them look silly. We could have easily been 4 or 5 goals up and should have definitely been 2-0 up at half time. So, but that brings me quite nicely into the one bad, which was we're just not prolific enough. Like when you look at teams who win titles, they would have killed that game off in the first half. We're just not. We weren't at that level to be able to kill off Manchester United, and they are sort of comeback kings at the minute, and that's exactly what they did. So fair play to them. I mean, okay, if we'd lost by a goal, I would have been annoyed because the first one should have been off. But actually, we didn't kill the game off where we should have done. We hit the post a couple of times. Sebastian had ooh, that's all I'm going to say about that. Like, how can you do?
Was that weird little toe poke? Sort of.
The toe poke was from 4 nails that hit the post. That was close. I was annoyed that David De Gea wasn't playing, to be fair. This is like a quick recap now, because he doesn't make saves where Henderson made a number of good saves, kept him in it. But Sebastian Haller took the ball down really well, done the keeper, open goal, and fell over. Unchallenged. Like, how? There is no doubt in the ability he's got to strike a ball. He can hit a ball, and he can hit it hard really well, but there's more to being a professional footballer than being able to strike a ball, and he just hasn't got the rest. So he was our record signing. Did we get done? I think so. It's nothing new there. But say that should have definitely been 2-0, but we could have been quite easily 4 or 5 up at half time. But we're just not prolific enough, which is a bad, I suppose. It's not good not being prolific, but it's just unlucky. On another day,
fucking tell me,
yeah, on another day, I think we would have put a couple away. Just the way it goes, we're still sitting pretty up the top end of the table, sitting quite close. If we had one, we would have gone third. Didn't work out, but it's the West Ham way.
Oh, to be a West Ham fan, right this very second. Which leads very nicely onto the one good, one bad for the Arsenal versus Spurs game. London derby, or North London derby, against our bitter rivals. If you haven't already seen as well, we would do weekly previews to the Premier League games where we use some background knowledge of the head-to-head fixtures, previous results, starting lineups, and we've just started using the aid of FIFA 21. If you haven't already checked them out, if you want to go see what they're all about, just go check out our previous videos, and there will be more to come each week. So yes, in my prediction, I went to FIFA 21 with my predicted lineup, and it came out as a 3-1 win to Spurs. Now, there was a couple of runs that I did, And each time, I think the closest we got was a 1-1 draw, and that was the last one I did, which was yesterday morning. So it gave me a little bit of positivity. Wasn't by much. I think, granted, most of the time they did come up as wins for Spurs, but because of that one, there was a little bit inside of it. It was like, oh, form goes out the window. No, it didn't. So the one good I think we can take away from that game yesterday was we dominated possession, and I think for the most part, other than sticking the ball in the back of the net, we did play quite well. It was quite a dominant performance. The bad is we're still not creating clear-cut chances, and we're not being prolific enough. So exactly, I think to what you were saying, I think we had 11 shots on target yesterday.
Yep.
11 shots on goal, only 2 on target.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 on target. Lacazette, had he continued his run, could have got a toe on it. It would have been a goal. And I think the other one was a Aubameyang header. Or do you know what? I was so annoyed yesterday. I was this close for it to be switching football off for the rest of the season, and switching my team to like Grimsby Town or something, just because we were absolutely diabolical. But yeah, so the one good for me is it was a very dominating performance in terms of possession, but possession doesn't win you games.
It does. I've got an interesting stat for you, Mike, and I would quite like to know your opinion on it, because it has to do with everything Arsenal. Now, we all know a throw-in, right? And how to do a throw-in. Right, as a professional footballer, you should be getting them right. This season alone, there's been 16 foul throws. Hector Bellerin has been responsible for 5 of those. Yep. So, is it the case? I mean, he reminded me of playing FIFA, to be fair, because none of the through balls he put through went where they should have gone. He can't throw the ball without giving away a foul throw. Do you take him off a throw-in, or does someone need to sit him down and go, "This is how you make a throw-in, mate. Keep both feet on the floor. Just stand still and do it. You don't have to run. We know you got little arms. Don't have to throw it a million miles. Just throw it to our player and get back in the game."
Personally, I'd say drop him for a couple of games.
I did think that might be your thing. That's what I'd do if I was a manager.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see that the boss had obviously had enough. Or there was two reasons for him being substituted. One, that he was playing poorly and needed to come off, and needed to be told that because you've been playing quite a lot recently in the Premier League, it doesn't guarantee you a start. If you're playing shit, I'm taking you off. So that was theory number one. Theory number two is that obviously we were desperate for a goal, so we'll chuck on another striker into the mix.
Yep.
So I mean, it could have been a combination of both of those things, but personally, I think it was he's playing terribly. He needs to come off. He's not been great over the last few games. There's a few players that I want to call out for Arsenal, which have been pretty poor recently. Willian, Xhaka, Bellerin, and Aubameyang. All of them have just seemed to kind of given up the ghost already this season. We're only 11 games to it. We've got some difficult fixtures potentially coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we've got Everton, Southampton coming up. We've got Burnley this weekend. We've got a cup game against Man City. We've got the Europa League, or the final Europa League game coming up this week, which we're already through at that, so it's kind of irrelevant. But my God, those players need an absolute rocket up the backside. Some people need to be dropped. For starters, Willian wouldn't make my team this week. Bellerin, as I said, wouldn't make my team. And you've got the choice. You've got Cedric Suarez, who got brought in in the summer as cover in the right back position. But we've also got Ainsley Maitland-Niles,
who done really well in the Europa League as well, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened. I don't know why he stopped playing.
He's so hit and miss. And that's his problem, is his consistency. When he plays brilliant, he is outstanding. When he's bad, he's bad. But I think give him a run of games over the next few weeks, because whatever system we're playing, it's not working.
Do you know what the other player I would drop if I was Mikel Arteta would be Aubameyang. When Nketiah come on, passes that he was putting in were accurate, they were fast, and they were forward. So I like Lacazette playing that little bit of a deeper role. I think he did quite well, and at times he pushed up so it was like a 4-4-2.
Yep.
But him and Nketiah, I would put on with Ainsley Maitland-Niles playing that wing back if he still want to play the three across the back. I don't know why he doesn't do it. I don't know whether they don't perform in training. I don't know whether it's a case of we play the big names all the time. Aubameyang, he has got the ability to change a game. But he's been awful. He's not even a tenth of the player that he was last year.
No.
No one knows what's happened with that or why that's happened, but maybe dropping him for a few games to say to him, look, just take some time out, gather yourself, and let's kick on in a few. Playing him against Burnley, I wouldn't. That's a difficult game, a real difficult game against some solid defenders, and I know they're not doing great at the moment, but they've now started to get some first team players back, and they're a hard team to beat. They will sit in and they will kick you and they will be on you all game. And for a striker that's lacking confidence, it is what he looks like to me. It's not the game to play him in.
I completely agree. Do you know what my theory would be? Is to play him in the Europa League game.
Yep.
Play Aubameyang in the Europa League game this week because we're coming up against Dundalk in Ireland, I think it is.
Let him score 6.
It's going to be, yeah, and that's it. Give him a bit of confidence. Stick him on. I know a fair play to the boys that have done the Europa League campaign so far, because you can only beat what's in front of you. But we've absolutely romped that. There's been a couple of times we've conceded a couple of silly goals, but we've gone 5 for 5 so far. We're already through to the next round. But Lacazette, not Lacazette. Well, in fact, Lacazette and Aubameyang, they need to start scoring in the Premier League. And I think the best way to do that is going to be to stick him against a lesser opposition.
Yeah.
And I think they'll appreciate it as well, because they'll be coming up against their first team. Do you know what I mean? It's not every day you get to play in Arsenal with Aubameyang and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's all kind of...
It makes it a more competitive game because they will up their game, especially the defence, thinking that actually this is my opportunity to maybe get scouted against someone. There's going to be eyes on this game somewhere. If I can man mark Aubameyang out of the game, that might be the difference between playing for Dundalk or playing in a top tier championship side. You know, something like that.
But that would be my logic. It would be to get him scoring in the Europa League just to get the confidence back, to know where the goal is. And then, as you said, potentially drop him for the game against Burnley. Stick with the likes of Nketiah or Lacazette up top, or both of them where Lacazette plays a deeper role. Yeah. Give Ainsley or Reece Nelson the chance to play out on the on the right wing. Saka out on the left wing, on the right, the opposite wing, because just whatever system is being played, Xhaka as well, drop him like a bad habit. Get Onana back in the team for me. Honest to God, Xhaka has been poor. I felt I've just rambled on about Arsenal too much. That was going to be later.
But I know you said we've rambled on it about enough, but I feel like it's productive. I feel like it's letting you vent it out a little bit. Now, Jose Mourinho was seen giggling on the touchline, but I think that was because he was 2-0 up when Ceballos absolutely powered a pass back to Leno, who just caught it, which is a pass back. He didn't get given as an indirect free kick. But I know you're supportive of Ceballos, and he likes a bit of shithousery, and can put in some key passes. But again, another player who, the end part of last season, I thought, I agree with you, was very, very good. But this year doesn't look up to the standard.
No, and to be honest, I'm not, because him and Xhaka were a formidable partnership last year. They were absolutely brilliant. There was more of the creative midfielder part about Danny Ceballos, and Xhaka was more comfortable allowing him to go. Xhaka was allowing Ceballos to go forwards, and he would have the defence covered. But at the same time, Ceballos would also track back in order to help cover the defensive positions. I'm not sure if it's a lack of starting of games that's getting Ceballos all riled up, because we know there's been some issues with temper and stuff previously at the start of the season. We saw it. We've heard about the recent incident at the training ground a couple of weeks ago, and I think that boils down to frustration about not being able to display what he wants to do. Personally, I don't. He's definitely not hit the heights that he's hit previously yet, and I know whilst our league position doesn't bode well, I still think there's time enough for us to find the right lineup. We'll have a few more players back from long-term injuries that I think will create more, that will push the team on more. And we may start to see the best out of some players, but certainly Willian's been well off the ball from the player that we saw at Chelsea last year. He just seems stripped of any confidence whilst being on the pitch. I'm not sure why that is. Xhaka, as I said, it's just been poor the last few games, and it's weird because at the start of the season he was reasonably solid, but he started coming out with his stupid rugby tackles, his stupid tackles in general. Spurs were in a position yesterday, and this is the bit that frustrates me, is that they're 2-0 up. We are chasing a goal, and we are getting desperate for goals in open play because we've hit 1 or 2 in the last month. And that was, one in the last month. And that was Gabriel against, who was he against?
Villa?
No, it might have been Wolves.
Right. Whoever it was.
Yeah. So he scored the header in open play. But, and the last goal before that was Aubameyang's penalty against United. So we're scrambling around for a goal. The team is stripped of confidence. Spurs were playing a Mourinho masterclass yesterday in the fact that they sat back, catches on the counter attack. But anytime any player got tapped, that's it. They were going down like a sack of shit. And he still persists to do it.
Yeah.
Wise up.
I tell you what, and a player who wouldn't normally get much praise from us, being a Spurs player, who was formerly from Southampton, but I think he's impressed me this season at Spurs. Is Højbjerg.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. He's got that little sort of, he knows all sort of the dark arts, as the ex-professionals call it, but he's solid passing. Puts his passing in right, puts his tackles in right, doesn't do much wrong, knows how to push buttons of players, and gets around the pitch. And for me, he's one of those who's sort of an unsung hero, I think, because he does the bits he does the dirty work and the groundwork, but none of the fancy stuff, none of the goals or the assists really come from him. But I thought he was brilliant.
I agree. He was. He certainly ruffled some feathers yesterday. And fair play to him. Just a fair play to Spurs yesterday. It definitely showed the golfing quality between the two teams. They had recruited well during the last transfer window, or the summer transfer window.
And I do have one more for you before we move on. Sorry, I feel like I've got a burp coming, but I can't quite get it out. Thomas Partey was seen being pushed by Arteta and shouted at to get back on the pitch and play ball. As he walked himself off, he was quite clearly injured. He limped back in with his run to try and get back into play for the Spurs goal. But he'd only started training on Friday, and he was already in the starting lineup. Do you think that was rushed back because the passes he did put in and some of the bits he did do were quality and, there it was, and much above what was the level of Arsenal? He was a cut above that for sure. So what's your opinion on that? Was it too soon to return from injury, or do you think it was just a case of he maybe should have only played the first half, or I don't know?
Well, he didn't even make it through the first half. He had to be off the half. But there's two sides to this. And I've heard or been listening to some interviews with the manager and various different podcasts and stuff that I've been listening to and stuff on YouTube. And apparently, to one side, he was declaring him. So he started coming back. Or when even on my preview, I said that I think it was going to be too soon for him to come back because there was talks about him not being able to be available for selection until January at the earliest.
Yep.
Which I thought would have been a realistic time frame. And then I heard from someone that he said he's going to be back in training, and there's a potential that he was going to be selected for this weekend. Now, when I heard that, I was kind of a little bit astounded that we're hearing one side of things, that he's the injury was more serious. He's going to be out until January, and then he's back in full squad training or full team training, and he's going to be available for selection. With him just coming back, and I appreciate the nature of the derby games, but I personally wouldn't have started it. I personally wouldn't have started it with him full stop. He, for me, would have been a second half substitution. So I would have started with Xhaka and Ceballos. I would have started with that.
Yeah.
Because that builds then that little bit of consistency that we have seen over the last few weeks. And then depending on how we were going, give Thomas Partey the 25-30 minutes in the second half so he doesn't potentially aggravate his injury. But no, I think the occasion got to the better of the manager. However, from reports that we've heard, he declared himself fit. He wanted to play in that game. And yeah, it's obviously not good because it's the same area injury. And
do you know what? And I was thinking about this all weekend. Is Thomas Partey, it seems to be the cut above in terms of midfielder. He's what you thought Granit Xhaka was going to be when he first arrived, but he's not quite turned out to have that sort of quality. He's a solid player. He can put in a big tackle, but he's not got that killer instinct, is how I'd probably describe it. The Thomas Partey from the few games I've seen him play in the Premier League he can pick out a pass. He can hit a ball, can't he? Bloody hell. But tracking back to a few episodes ago, we talked about obviously the Spurs Amazon documentary. I don't know if you've watched it yet. It was brilliant. Where Jose Mourinho was saying about being a cunt. Now I said that quietly. I might bleep it. I might forget to bleep it. So that's why I've said it quietly. He's talking about not being a nice player. You're too nice. You've got to rile up. Even if it's for 90 minutes, you've got to be horrible. Arsenal don't seem to have that at the moment. Ceballos has got it in him. David Luiz has got it in him. But they don't show it through the whole game. The one player who did show it, maybe in the wrong way, was Guendouzi. He's out on loan. Do you think he's been a difference? Because he did play a lot for you last season. Not always good. Not his attitude wasn't always the best, but a bit of a nasty player on the pitch.
Bit of a nasty player, and he liked to get stuck in, and he did when he played. He did put shift in. I didn't like a lot of the stuff that he did whilst he was playing for us last year. I think in his first season he was brilliant, and he was kind of one of the shining prospects that we had. Last year, I didn't. I think the Premier League got the better of him, and it was very much like Grealish when Grealish first broke into the scene. For Villa, I didn't like him because it was a little bit too big for his boots. Thought the world was his oyster, that he was untouchable, and it took a lot for Jack Grealish to be brought down a peg or two. And I think, or we've said it previously on previous episodes, that he's turning out to be an outstanding footballer. And I think a couple of seasons, or at least this season away from Arsenal, might bring him down a peg or two, because I think he'll be playing more consistently.
Get that maturity as you grow older that you get naturally as well.
But to be honest, I think that's the last one. Depending on how the loan spell goes, maybe we won't see him again in an Arsenal. But
I think it depends on how long Arteta lasts, but I'm sure we'll get onto that in any other business.
Absolutely. But in answer to your question, there's a few players. I think Torreira was another one. Definitely put a shift in, but he wasn't that nasty player as you put. Yeah, potentially he is. He could be.
There's also been a number of players, William being one, that have said that they're struggling in training and it's all new to them. These are players that have been around the block a fair bit, played it in different countries, different clubs, have said that the training is fantastic, but it's the most technical they've ever had it. What's demanded of them is the most that's ever been demanded from anyone. And say William being one who's played under Mourinho, he's played under Conte, he's played under loads of players. The other one who got sacked from Chelsea, who went to Juventus, whoever he went, who ate the fags. Sarri, that's it. So Ancelotti being another one. Top world-class managers who will demand technicalities from them. Do you think maybe that Arteta's trying to look at it from too much of a technical standpoint rather than go out and play ball, give them a little bit of freedom? Do you think maybe that might be hindering the team?
Quite possibly, and I think there could be some similarity between him and a certain Le Professor in their training styles. And what I mean by that is that when Arsene Wenger first come into the Arsenal team, or the Arsenal manager's position, I've watched loads of interviews where you look at the players like Martin Keown, Tony Adams, Ray Parlour, and the proper old school boys. Ian Wright was another one, and they were saying that they had this guy come into their camp, didn't have a fucking clue what he was going on about, and at first it was all kind of like, what is this, and then after a little while they started, or certainly after the first season, because I think it was in the second season he ended up winning the title, but they started seeing the fruits of his labour. And I think because of the way this year has been so interrupted by obviously the pandemic, I think it's very difficult for those sorts of plans to be able to embed. I mean, we definitely saw something at the end of last season. Whatever it was last season, it may be the new manager. Everyone wanted to impress. They had to fight for their position. Now, whilst this potentially could be, what the hell's going on? In a couple of games' time, we may see something click, and then everyone goes, "Oh, fucking hell, this is it. This is the new Arsenal way." I'm hoping that is the case. I don't know whether it will be the case, but I'm fingers crossed. It may be. Is it just a simple case of you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Maybe.
I don't know.
It may be a case of just the run of games that have been on, that the confidence is low, and it will take just one or two results to be strung together, and all of a sudden you're high flying again. And Man City looked horrendous to start the season. They've put one or two results together and actually look back to their old ways, don't they? It could be as simple as just a little bit of confidence needed, maybe a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Possibly.
The trouble is, right, here's the thing. As we say, it could be as simple as stringing two games together. People go, oh, that's an easy game, or we should win some points there. There are no easy games in the Premier League. And especially being Arsenal playing not particularly well, you're still a big name, and you're still a scout to take, so everyone will be up in their game for those fixtures, as they do against all the big six. So what was a hard game becomes harder. So stringing a couple of results together when you're low on confidence is extremely hard. And I feel for Arteta because he comes across as a really nice bloke. As a coach at Man City, he looked like he knew what he was doing from that documentary and seeing him on the sidelines, for his interactions with the players, some of his interviews that he's done. And same at Arsenal with his interviews that he's done are brilliant. And there's nothing I don't think you can dislike him.
No.
If you do, it's very hard to. But at the end of the day, it's a results-driven business. So I want to see him succeed at Arsenal. I really do. A bit like Frank Lampard is succeeding at Chelsea at the moment. That may all change if it all falls apart in January. They get a few big injuries. But he's got to change something, and I don't know what that is. Fans coming back is only going to make it worse. Well, say worse, harder, because they're going to let you. They're going to let you know when they're not happy.
And I think, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think even before the announcement that the fans will be going back into the stadiums, is that maybe it's just got to a point now where the players are finding it so difficult to G themselves up for a game. And I know it's not an excuse. In fact, if it is their excuse, it's a fucking piss poor excuse. Because other teams are managing to pick themselves up and rise to an occasion, whether it be to no fans, to 2,000 fans, or wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
There are teams that have been able to do that. But we don't know how it's affecting the players. Obviously, we can only speculate. Feel a little bit sorry for them. It must be so hard doing their job, earning their thousands of pounds a week. But it may be really, really difficult for the players to G themselves up for an occasion. And I think when you've got fans coming back into the stadiums, granted, when it's your opposition's fans, it does make it possibly a little bit harder. They're cheering for the opposition. So we may start seeing some positive results back at home again.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that this game against Burnley at the weekend, we are playing. I'm hoping that this is going to be the kick on that we need, or that the players need, in order to get some positivity back into and confidence back in themselves.
Yeah. I mean, see, I sit on the fence because obviously a lot of you guys are Arsenal fans. It has become almost a second team for me, because when we go to the pub, it's West Ham might be on, but Arsenal's usually on the telly, and we go and watch the Arsenal FA Cup finals, you know. So it has become a little bit of a second team for me. I mean, if I'm honest, I'm loving it a little bit that you're struggling. And that actually you feel my pain. Really, we've almost switched positions, haven't we, as to seasons and what goes on. But as a football fan, it is one of the big ones that you like. Actually, as a kid growing up, you remember Arsenal playing this fancy football, and I mean that. I remember Arsene Wenger when he was in his prime, so to speak, and Arsenal were one of the big boys. You know, and if you beat them, then you've done something that doesn't happen very often. And it just feels like when you come up against Arsenal, you're like, oh, this is 3 points ready for the taking here. This is primed, and you look forward to the match day rather than going, oh, if we get a point, we'll be lucky if we get a point. And that fear has gone certainly from fans, and I think that transposes to players, whether there's fans in or not. I would like to see you back up at the Heights, challenging for fourth spot, as you claimed it as your own for so many years, but at the same time, I love it. So I don't know, as a neutral, do people like it? Do they hate it? Maybe that's a poll we should run.
Yeah.
Are you loving Arsenal's decline? Manchester United.
You run that one.
Well, Manchester United fell, didn't they? When you look at that, when Ferguson left, and they're still not at the levels they should be. They're getting there slowly. They are getting there slowly, but they're still indifferent in results. It could be a long old journey for Arsenal if they can't correct it now, because you don't want if you do the unspeakable and drop down to the Championship, which the way you're going and the way you're playing is looking more and more likely you're going to be in a relegation scrap. And there's not many of those players who've been in one of them before. Certainly not in the Premier League. Are they up for it? I wouldn't put my money on them. No. And at that point, this is worst case scenario, right? I'm talking. If Arsenal fall out of the Premier League, you're going to League Two. And the reason I say that is your owners don't really want to put money in now, do they? They're reluctant to, where they know they're not going to get that return back. They're not going to put money in. They're going to sell to try and make as much money as possible. They may sell the club to someone else who does pump money into it. But at that point, all your big players go. Your youth team is probably too good for the Championship, so a lot of them will go. And then what do you replace it with if you're not going to put money into it? Your under-18s? I don't know if Arsenal... I mean, if I was you, mate, I'd just switch to watching Arsenal women's because they're actually quite good.
They are very good.
They are, mate. I reckon they'd be doing a better job in the Premiership than Arsenal men.
Yeah, and that's to be honest. I mean, I kind of hit a brick wall yesterday in terms of how I'm feeling about the whole Mikel Arteta position and where the team go from here. I feel like we're encroaching on our topic we were due to go on to later. But
I reckon just go for it, mate.
Yeah,
go for it.
Right, so from stuff I was watching yesterday, I kind of, as soon as the game finished, I didn't want to watch any interviews. I just wanted to kind of think about the game as little as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But towards the end of yesterday evening, all I wanted was watch the manager's interview, players' thoughts about the game, reading about what they were saying, listening to other podcasts, listening to what they were saying. Now, I think the general consensus about how much time the boss gets. I'm very, very, very reluctant to say Mikel Arteta out. There are a lot of people that are calling for his head on. Yet these are the same people that are saying he was the best thing since sliced once we lifted the FA Cup. And I get this; it is a results-driven business, and I think I've been pretty consistent in what I've said, that I think some of the players aren't up to scratch. Nicolas Pepe, for me, has been a massive disappointment since we signed him. We saw moments of brilliance, but he hasn't hit the consistent performance. We're going over old ground in terms of play. There's no point. But I think one of the things that we need to realise, or that fans need to realise, is the players, or there's a few players that were playing under the Wenger era. There are a few players that played under the Emery era. There was a few players that played under the Ljungberg era. And now there are a few players playing under the Arteta era. It can't all be that the manager is that bad at his job.
Yep.
Or their jobs. There are, I think, there's some deadwood within the team. And this comes down to pure frustration for a couple of players, because you know that they can play really well. And it could be that the entire performance of the team is bringing everyone down. And like you said, once you start getting into a spiral, it's very difficult to get yourself out. But that's why I think we're only a few results away from play.
Mm-hmm.
But we just need to get that momentum to start off with. So I am going to back the manager for the time being. I think regardless of what happens, I think he'll be given till the end of the season. I don't think we'll get relegated. I'd be very surprised if we make top 8 this year. But I think if we don't make the top 4 this year, we need to make fucking good effort of the Europa League. Yeah. I'd say if we sit outside the Champions League places, we need to be winning that Europa League.
Which could be harder said than done this year, because you look at some of the teams who are struggling, Real Madrid's, Barcelona's. You could have a horrendous Europa League run. I mean, what? Yep. As an Arsenal fan, realistically, I mean, I know and get them at every club. Doesn't matter whether you're Sheffield United, whether you're Manchester City. Every club, every year, you get the odd fan who goes, realistically, we need to be winning the league this year. We had a good season last year. We need to win the league. As a realistic expectation, as an Arsenal fan, where did you see your Arsenal? What was your target for the season?
My target was to get back into the top 4 and possibly a cup.
Okay.
Whether it be a League Cup, FA Cup again, or the Europa League. I think Europa League would be a nice to do. I think we need to, because let's be honest, unless we go undefeated now for the rest of the season, I think it's very unlikely that we're going to finish top 4.
Yep.
The League Cup is a competition I don't think I've ever seen us win. It's a competition I know we have won, but I don't remember us winning that trophy in my lifetime.
Yep.
Or I was too young to remember us winning it. The FA Cup was, I thought, our best chance of silverware last year, and as it stands at the moment, I think it's going to be our best chance of silverware again this year. We don't. We've got Newcastle in the next round of the FA Cup. I think potentially that could be a game that we will win comfortably. Touch wood. But we've got Manchester City in the next round of the League Cup. I don't fancy our chances on our current form. But the FA Cup, you never know. We might hit a turning point towards the end of this year, the beginning of next year, and the FA Cup kicks on again. But definitely top 4 was minimum for me.
Okay, that makes sense. The way I looked at it for Arsenal was the top 4 now. I mean, we had what was known as the Big Six, didn't we, before? Your Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Tottenham. That was your Big Six. I think you're now more looking at your Big 8. Possibly your Big 9. We've added on to that Leicester, Wolves, who have been consistent year on year now and getting better and better. I think Everton have thrown their name in the hat this year with some of the signings they've made. They've backed Ancelotti to the hilt. They started off really strongly. Since it's now got colder, some of those players who are used to playing in those nice warm climates are struggling and have admitted they're struggling. Your likes of your James Rodriguez, who he's a baller, but when it gets to 2 degrees and you're playing on a Monday night in Burnley, it's a lot harder than playing against Barcelona in the nice humid climate.
Yeah.
Because say today, I went outside and was already shaking from the inside out. It's that cold out. So playing in just a shirt, I don't envy them. Well, I do a little bit, but you know what I mean. But so you're in the Europa League, so you want to be getting to the final of that, really, don't you? As the clubs where you look at it, you go, okay, yes, there are always some good clubs in it, but semi-finals realistically as a minimum, and anything better than that is a bonus. I think FA Cup, you're right, is a good chance to get some silverware. If you get some favourable draws as well, the early stages are easier, especially if you draw them at home. If you draw them away, a bit more difficult with some of the pitches you come across. Same with the League Cup. It's definitely winnable because a lot of the big teams don't take it seriously unless they're drawn against a big team. So again, you're looking at semi-finals, finals of that, I would say. But in the league, because it's so competitive, I would have said Europa League. With some of the players you got out, you got in some new players, so a little bit of bedding in time, say. No crowds in. So, I mean, West Ham are thriving on no crowd. I think that's given us a little bit of confidence as a club because one bad result and the West Ham fans are on you. One good result, they're behind you. But it's interchangeable. Where they've not had that, they've been able to build a bit more of a bond and a bit more of confidence. So I think as the crowds slowly get introduced, we're already playing better, so the fans are going to get behind them. It's only going to lead to better things. But with Arsenal, it's not happened, is it? And although the Emirates is known as a library to a lot of neutrals and away fans, maybe some of those players do thrive on there being 1,000 eyes or 60,000 eyes on them a week. Maybe there's not as much noise as maybe some of the other places, but if that's what's going to help them, then this reintroduction of fans could be the kickstart of your season.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the Europa League game last week, it was basically a second string team.
It was a different quality, wasn't it?
But and again, you can only beat the team. But we looked deadly.
The Arsenal of old.
It was quick passes, weren't afraid to shoot. I mean, Lacazette's goal was an outstanding goal. But and that was with 2,000 people in the crowd. I got a little bit emotional about seeing fans back in, and it was so nice not having to listen to that stupid fake crowd noise.
I don't listen to it. I don't listen to it.
I had to, because I couldn't listen. I tried it once for about 20 minutes listening to without the crowd noise, and it felt like playing FIFA on mute. And I get frustrated with FIFA when
I play FIFA on mute though.
But yeah, I had to have the crowd noise on, and it was some kind of normality. But you can't beat having the fans in the stadium, and that's why I think this weekend is going to be a massive test for us.
A monumental.
Shift up the lineup, stick them in front of the 2,000 Arsenal fans, and see what happens.
Yeah. That's the trouble, isn't it? Do you go right? Because Burnley, are going to sit deep and hit you on the counter. So do you go right? We're going to get a point here because we're going to sit deep as well, and it's going to be the most boring game of football ever. But we're going to get a point. We might nick something, but we're going to get a point. And then the week after that, you've got Man City. Was it?
Yes, I think that's
so. At that point, do you go right? Let's try and be technical with it, or do you go right? Let's sit deep and go on the counter. Let's get another point. And then the week after that, right, let's go on the counter again. Let's get 3 points this week. And then you've got to put a stop to the rot, haven't you?
Yeah, so our next few fixtures. So we've got Burnley this week, Southampton on the Wednesday. So this is going to be a busy week for us. So Burnley, Southampton, Everton on the Saturday after. And then just before Christmas, we've got Manchester City. On Boxing Day, we've got Chelsea. And then Brighton at the end of December. We've got a fucking horrible run.
Yeah, that's what I said. Usually you'd go, Brighton, we get some points out of that. Southampton will get some points out of that. Burnley, we might get a point out of that. All of those teams are. You look at it now, and you go, if we get 3 points out of this, we're going to be. That's a good turn of results, especially with the form you're in. I mean, I would say Everton there is your best chance of getting 3 points, because of the form they're in. But by that point, I mean, Ancelotti's been around the block, hasn't he? He knows how to turn a team around when they're not playing well. Yep. He's not going to stick by his style. He's going to change it up. He's going to drop players as he did with Pickford. He dropped Pickford for a game. Since then, Pickford's been really good. He ain't afraid to throw people to the wolves. As I said, I want Arteta to succeed. Part of me wants to give him a hug and go, it's all going to be okay, but I don't think it is. I think you're gonna drop out the League Cup. Personally, I can see this happening. You're gonna drop out the League Cup to a reasonable team. Whoever you say is that City you've got in the next round, you're gonna drop out to City, which you'd go okay. That swings and roundabouts. That could go either way. You could play out your skin, get a result. But chances are City have just hit a good vein of form. They're going to knock you out. I feel like you're going to knock out the FA Cup by a minnow. There's going to be a giant killing on it. Having a Waterlooville or a Boreham Wood or whoever it may be. I can see that happening. Because he'll go, actually, we've got some good Europa League ties coming up in a knockout round. We'll play a second string team. Europa League, I can see you going out on an away goals rule. Just a one bad result, a good home leg, and then the away, a good away leg, a solid 1 or 2-0 win, and then a silly result at home. Mm-hmm. Maybe later on, maybe quarterfinals ish, and then at that point you go, actually, our season's in tatters here because we're still sitting 10th. Which, if you're playing that bad, playing the way you are, 10th would be a blessing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in the boats every season, mate. Every season with West Ham, we're usually in the position you're in. We haven't usually got the Europe to contend with, but in some senses, going out of that early may have been a a blessing in disguise. I think if you'd gone out in the group stage, he would have lost his job already. Because you performing badly in the thing. I think he's one saving grace is you are romping the Europa League in a minute. But if you go out in the next round, that could be a blessing, because actually, let's focus on the league and the FA Cup. Don't worry about anything else. Let's just hammer on with that. You've been linked with Christian Eriksen.
Yes.
Who, for me, creative, ticks a box. Can change a game, ticks a box. Will he grind it to the bone to make sure you get the result? Does not tick the box for me. He's one of those who's fantastic to have, but when it comes to needing a nitty gritty result and grinding out some wins, he's not the man I'd want to be turning to go, oh, let's get this win.
See, that's another thing. How old is he? Is he
28? 28, I want to say. I may be wrong. I'll Google it.
I'm not just saying this because of the Spurs connection, because, I mean, technically that doesn't really bother me because Campbell. I think it's going to be really difficult because he's another player coming towards the end of his career. I wouldn't say he was at the end of his career, with the likes of Willian and Aubameyang, both 31, 32 respectively. So if he is in the latter stages of his 20s, I mean, yes, he's got a peg on him, but we have seen it firsthand in certain occasions that he doesn't. Is he going to be another Mesut Ozil?
Well, let's put it this way. Last year, he went to Inter Milan, didn't he? On a relatively cheap deal. He got 1 goal and 2 assists in a very, very strong Inter Milan squad last half of the season in 17 games. He didn't score in the Champions League out of the 3 appearances he made this season. Europa League last year, out of 6 games, he got 2 goals. And in the Coppa Italia, he got 1 goal. This year, he's played 7 games. He's not got a single goal or assist. And that's arguably the strongest Inter Milan side that there's been in years. And he can't make it work in the Italian league. I think, yeah.
That sounds about right. Let's sign him. I mean, the frustrating thing for me is the whole Willian saga. There were highs and lows of his Chelsea career. A lot of highs, but we saw towards the latter stages of his career, he was getting left out of the team for quite substantial periods. And then he come back into the team, start making a difference. I think last year he got something stupid, like 11 assists and 8 goals, or the other way around, there or thereabouts. And there was part of me, even on his first appearance for Arsenal at the game against Fulham, we can look at that now and say that it was the opposition. It wasn't. In fact, no, I'm going to say it. We turned up for that game, and every Arsenal fan would have got behind him and said, "Wow, what a league we're going to have this year. What a campaign we're going to have this year." And it's literally since that day that everything's kind of gone downhill. We struggled against you guys, but we ground out the. I'm trying to think who the other wins were against.
Fulham. That was the first one. You mentioned that already.
Yeah.
Wasn't Villa.
Definitely wasn't Villa.
I don't know. Here's the thing with that though, right?
Like
as Chelsea, he wanted a 3-year deal, didn't he? And they said, no, we'll give you 1. So for them to say that, there's obviously something, they've worked with him for years. They know what he's about. They know he's either on the wane or he's looking to retire. He's looking for one last contract. No, we'll give you a 1 deal. No, I want 3. If you don't give me 3, I'm not signing. So they compromised, didn't they? They said, we'll give you a 2. And he said, no, I don't want it. I don't want a 2, I want a 3. You've come in and gone, actually, there's something about him. He's a match winner. I think maybe 3-4 years past his prime. People he's a 3-year deal. Has he come to Arsenal to retire? Because he's got the contract. He ain't shit.
Yeah.
I can't speak. I don't know him personally. I don't know his face. I can't imagine he's short of a few bob, is he? and actually he's got guaranteed income for the next 3 years on good money.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I ain't leaving unless you pay my contract. I ain't got to put in an effort. Yes, I want to play football, but I ain't going to put in the same effort I did when I was 25 and run my legs off. Much like Gareth Bale said when he come back to Tottenham. I ain't the same player as I was 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I can't make those runs anymore. I play differently. I don't put in that effort. I can't do it. My body's changed. Is Willian the same? Have you got a fantastic player? Slightly too late.
Quite possibly. And the frustrating thing is, even him being a Chelsea player, I was a big admirer. One of my best mates, he's a Chelsea fan, and he'll tell you the amount of times I've praised Willian and said to him, I'll be well happy if he was the team. But again, we just, like a lot of players for us this season, we just haven't seen any consistency. And I'm honest to God, mate, I'm hoping that something changes within the team's mentality and it changes quick, because it's not sustainable the way we're going. No. Like you said, we could potentially be in a relegation scrap.
And you don't need
I don't think it will get to that point, but there is a potential for that to happen. But yeah, I feel like we've waffled on about Arsenal quite a lot.
We have.
We should just name this the Arsenal podcast.
Can I have a time out quick? I need a wee.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry.
I need to apologise.
You saying that we should call it the Arsenal podcast? There's a lot going on at Arsenal that hasn't been going on for a long time. So it's food for thought, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a great place to be in. It's a position that, I mean, even under Emery, we were bad, but we weren't as bad as what we have been. And I don't, like I said, I'll back the boss as long as we can. And I just hope that things change and change quickly.
Shall we move on to one of my favourite segments? Well, the intro is one of my favourite segments. I hate the segment because it makes me angry every week. Can we move on to that one? Because we've got some things to add to that.
I think I've got a good one for you.
Go on.
I might have to sit back so it doesn't blow out your speakers or your headphones.
I'm ready to take it in. Go on, hit me with it.
Far! Bloody hell! Bloody Harry Potter!
Every time it gets me. It doesn't get old.
I feel like Cartman when
it's brilliant. So VAR, we've not seen it applied consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. This season, we've not seen it applied fairly.
Mm-hmm.
And against Manchester United, West Ham didn't see it applied at all. They went, "Oh, actually, we didn't think about this one. I'm sure it'll be fine." We're actually, when you look at the people who go, "Let's draw this line on here," that ball was about 55 metres out of play. People say about how far the crowd's back. If it was at Upton Park, that would have flown over the crowd. That would have been in row F. Just because it's an oval that there's space for it to go. Unbelievable strike, don't get me wrong. Unbelievable finish from Pogba to finish that as he did. But that was the turning point in the game. That was the catalyst. But once again, VAR has failed to do what it's been brought in to do.
Sorry, I started giggling to myself there because I've just got going, "What's your issue?" I just read it as part of the podcast. Maybe we might have to pre-record that.
I'll keep that one. I'll keep that one in, and we'll just use that from now on. But it was unbelievable. I
think it goes for as much to say that even the people who were commentating on the game, and then they see the replay, they were like, "Has that gone out? Has that not gone?" When you could quite clearly see it.
The fact that David Moyes is the only person watching the ball, right? And he watches it, and he looks up at it like that, and he looks behind him, and then he claps him. So, like, let's go again. The fact that that's the reaction of the manager, surely they should look at it and go, "Hang on, let's look at where he's looking," because he ain't going to be tracking a bloody seagull, is he? Let's be serious about this. There's not going to be a ball and then, oh, Oh, there's a seagull 6 foot to the right. Look at that. That's not going to happen. So
No.
It's obviously an oversight on the part of VAR. They've not thought about that being a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to change it? Probably not. Would the result have been different? Who knows? Manchester United were awful up until that point, so possibly. I mean, the game, they did change their tempo when Rashford and Fernandes come on. I will give them that. The fact they scored 3 gave me a little bit more confidence. Actually, we were going to lose that game anyway. If it was 2-1, could we have scored a late goal? Would there have been a bit more of a fight in it? Maybe.
Mm.
But once again, it's just VAR being dog shit, isn't it?
Mm.
Let's be serious about it. Let's be frank about it. At what point are they gonna make it right? Are they gonna say, right, you in the VAR room, you ain't got a job tomorrow because you were shit. We're paying you an absolute fortune here and you can't get simple decisions right. Look.
See, one of the biggest issues that I've got is that it's referees or officials, shall we say, that have got the responsibility of calling the decisions. Now, like it or not, I think when you've got that sort of profession, for possibly their younger, more inexperienced referee, if they're then being put in charge of a game where you have the likes of Mike Dean, your Andre Mariners, the more experienced referees, for them to potentially turn around and say, yeah, I'm not being funny, you might want to have a look at this decision. It's gonna, they may feel intimidated by the fact of being pulled out in front of national audiences.
What, that you've got that wrong?
International audiences. Yeah, and it could potentially be quite embarrassing and damage the reputation of the referee. Completely forgetting the fact that the whole point of VAR was to point out that is what it's there for.
It's for those things that are missed.
Yeah. I mean, they had that incident. Where was it? Weeks ago. Was it the Liverpool game where Van Dijk got injured? And I think that it come out that they
didn't look at the decision because it was offside.
Said, yeah, and he said, "Oh, I didn't think I had to give that call." Yep. Or there was some incident where the VAR official come out and said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realise I got it wrong." And it's embarrassing.
It's not good enough, is it?
It should be someone completely impartial that's not of that board.
Yep.
That their job is to look at VAR or look at that footage of that particular game.
Well, when you look at Howard Webb and the statement he made at the beginning of the season, and Howard Webb was arguably, I mean, he refereed a World Cup final, didn't he? He was a very, very good referee. He sits on an international and national boards for refereeing now and decision making. He has come out and made a statement to say that the VAR is a completely different skill set to refereeing. And I probably don't get him wrong. Like, Football Manager and FIFA are 2 football games. They're all about winning football games. But they are 2 very different skill sets. 2 very different things. So running about doing it on pitch is one thing. And I do think they should have a separate set of referees that are VAR officials and are trained to be solely VAR officials. And those people should not have any vested interest in football. And what I mean about that is, if you show your nan who doesn't give a toss about anything because she's old, and say to her, "Is this offside?" and she goes, "Yep," or "Nope."
What's offside?
Well, she might say what's offside. In fairness, that she'd probably still get a more accurate decision than the VAR officials at the minute. But you show her a foul and go, "Is that a warning, or should he not be on the pitch anymore?" And she'll be able to say, "I didn't see anything wrong with that," or "Oh, he should be told off a little bit," or "He shouldn't be playing this game anymore." There's your 3 decisions. Here's the other thing. In Australia, you can hear every word that the referee says, and you can hear what the VAR is saying to them. And there's that very good clip of the bloke saying, "Can you check that for me?" "Yeah, okay." "Am I back on TV?" "Yeah," because they've got a live feed of it. And right, I'm going over to the thing. Can you show me this, that, and the other? Yeah, here it is. Do you want it for another angle? No, that's fine for me. Am I back on the TV? Okay, that's a red card for you because of this. And you can hear it all. The Premier League seem to be very reluctant to share that. And for what reason? I don't know. I can only say, and this is pure speculation, precursor to that with that, is there some sort of fixing going on? Because why else wouldn't you want people to hear it? Yep, that's fine. Hear everything we said. It's an alternative commentary. You have to select to hear it because that's that. You don't have your normal commentary. You just hear what the referee says. But also, the amount of players that swear on the pitch, we know that from not having crowd noise in. They should be being booked by the laws of the game. It is dissent on the football pitch, and it is a bookable offence. They don't book them for it because it causes too much aggro for sponsors, for other people. But I would quite happily get rid of commentary to hear what the ref's saying and hear what the VAR is saying. And I don't see what their problem is with it, apart from something isn't right. They should be transparent with it.
Unless you just get to where you are with, I mean, even cricket's the same. I'm not a massive fan of cricket, but it only gets to the point where you get up to where someone steps in for a review. It's the same with American football. If they want to review a decision, that's the point that it comes in with the officials. And I mean, you've got it in some sports, you don't hear everything, but you certainly get to the point where it's like, okay, I want to have a look at this. I want to. Even just hearing that much, I would like to hear. I granted, listening to what goes on during the rest of the 90 minutes, I wouldn't be bothered if I heard it or not. But I certainly would like to hear to the point where they go, "Oh, this is being reviewed. This is what's being discussed. Job done."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. There needs to be some sort of thing, and I do think it's bullshit that we don't hear what is being discussed. For the purposes of listening to people swearing, as you said, you could go back through the entire lockdown period where we have been playing games, and you can listen to it without the crowd noise. You can hear the manager swearing, you can hear the players swearing. It doesn't make a bit of difference. If old Karen wants to be offended because someone swore on a football pitch, don't listen to it.
Yep. But say there are two phases of that. Don't like it, don't watch it. That's fine. No one's forcing you to watch it. But also, they should follow the rules of the game. I think if they did start booking players for it, it would quite quickly leave the game because actually, I've got a red card in the third minute because I've sworn at him. The ref's given me a yellow, so I've sworn that the ref would give me a yellow, and actually now I'm off. I think you'd quite quickly change the language of the game. But I still don't see why they won't. We're going over the same point. For what reason will they not share it?
Yeah.
It's not a case that they can't share it. Of course they can. You can share commentary. You can hear pitch-side cameras and monitors, and
I would be very interested to know if when teams and stuff they get their footage back from being able to review the games, the good points, the bad points, and all that sort of stuff. I would be interested to know if there is kind of like a transcript or the audio to hear what the referees are discussing. Because I think even if that was,
I'd imagine so.
I think that should be the case.
When you think about it, when you look at American football have done it, I know a number of goalkeepers have done it, where they mic themselves up, so you can hear everything going on in the game. You can hear what they're saying and what they're talking about, and good, bad, and indifferent. There's no reason why you can't mic up. Hang on 2 seconds. Right, where was we? Someone needed the wee. There's no reason why they can't mic up captains. Microphones are very, very little now, and you can get them quite easily and whatnot. There's no reason you can't mic up your captain, because realistically, he should be involved with every interaction with the referee that involves your team, whether it's with another player and he's telling him off, whether he's saying to you, yeah, that was a foul, so we'll give you a free kick from here, or whatever it might be. So then the captains can capture that audio. The referee has got to do nothing different. Because I would imagine the captains want to know what's going on the pitch. And why that decision's been made. You can see him talking to the refs. I mean, you look at the referee for the Arsenal Spurs game, was chatting to lots of players and having little remarks and little sort of jovial bits with each player.
A few fist bumps going on.
But say they're personable with the players. The fact that some of the decisions go for the players and they like it, some go against, they don't like it. Yeah, it's part and parcel of the game. They should just. It's a microphone. Referee's already wearing a microphone. That's being transmitted through a place to be transmitted to over there. Just put a recording on it. Thank you very much. Job done. Even after the game, let's look at these decisions. Release it as a highlights package of VAR highlights from Arsenal Tottenham, with all the commentary from the officials. Doesn't have to be during the game, but at least you get an understanding of, I didn't like that decision. That was wrong. What were they discussing? I'm sure they would get millions of hits on YouTube. Sorry, pardon me. And I just don't understand why they don't do it. And it frustrates me, it angers me every week.
Yeah.
Even when it's nothing to do with West Ham, it angers me that they don't do it. Be transparent with it, Premier League. Be transparent.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Other than that, I don't really think there was that many VAR decisions. I get what you're saying about the Pogba ball going out into row F.
You get some, you win some, you lose some. It's
yes, yeah. I think on the whole, it was a pretty. It was an okay week.
It was an okay week.
It'll ever be an exceptional week.
No, but I think that's because there was a lack of decisions by VAR. Yeah, we should have put that game to bed, and that whether that happened or not shouldn't have been an issue for us. That game should have been put to bed 20 minutes before that. So we've only got ourselves to blame, which is why I'm still a little bit upbeat. You know. Should we move on to something more positive?
Yes, let's move on to the scores. So for last week, we had 3 games. We had West Ham, Tottenham versus Arsenal, and the final one that was thrown to us from one of our viewers on the live show. It
Man
was
United Herbert,
versus Leeds. So for the first game, you had 2-2. I had 2-1 to Man United. So it was a point to me, 0 points to you. For the Tottenham Arsenal game, you had 5-0 to Spurs. I had 2-1 to Arsenal, so that's a point to you, no points to me. Now this is where it gets interesting with the Chelsea versus.
I can't
Leeds
even remember
game.
what I said, mate. I'd had a few by then.
You had 3-2 to Chelsea. I had 3-1.
What was the score? Oh, it was.
That's a point to you, 3 points to me. So that puts this week's scores 4 points to me, 2 points to you, which moves into this season's totals. Ian, you are currently sitting on 19 points.
Yeah, all right.
And a massive 10-point lead on 29 points is me. It's coming over.
Mate, I'm letting you win. I feel sorry for you. It's the only positive you've got this season, so you're allowed it.
Absolutely, mate.
Come on in.
So it goes on to this week's fixtures. So you have got Lee away to. I believe that's on this Friday.
It is on the Friday, yeah. Yeah.
We've got Burnley away on the Sunday, and also the big game I think this week is Saturday. The Manchester derby.
Yeah.
So United at home to Manchester City. So your fixture being first, what are your thoughts and predictions for this game?
Difficult game against Leeds. They man mark. They press all game. They can. They do. They can score a goal. We know that. Antonio's out again, injured with a hamstring. There was a lot of talk about him getting a 3-year deal. We can go on to that in a bit, but for me, touch and go. If he's playing, it gives me a bit more confidence. I think you should definitely tune into this week's lineup prediction, because I'll explain a bit more in depth as to how I'd line up, and I would change it a hell of a lot. But for me, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw again. Both teams have got goals in them. Both teams can be a bit fragile at the back, as we've seen going into games. I feel like it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a lively affair.
Yes, I completely agree. I think there will be goals in it. I think it's going to come down to I think with Leeds having the home advantage in the back into Ellen Road, I believe they're allowed back in there. I know there's still some areas where they're not allowed into grounds because of the whole tiering system. And I believe Leeds are ones that are allowed to have fans in.
Yep.
They were playing away this weekend to Chelsea.
Yes.
Were they away?
Yeah, they were away at Stamford Bridge.
Leeds were away. So I think it's going to be a big boost for Leeds. I'm going to put them as...
Yeah, didn't take that into consideration. It's the first game in the Premier League for 16 years, isn't it, for Leeds fans?
Yes. So I do think there will be goals because, as you quite rightly said, you both can be very offensive, or you have both been very offensive, but you also have been very fragile. But I'm going to give Leeds the slight advantage of this. I'm going to go for 3-2 to Leeds.
Fair play. In fairness, if we finish 3-2 to Leeds, I would say is what it is. I'd like to get a point out of this game. Looking at the fixtures, it's going to be a hard game. So,
next fixture onto my boys, Arsenal versus Burnley. So for the complete ramble on that we had for the Arsenal section, this I think is going to be a very tough game for us. It's going to be, we're at home, so potentially again with the crowd being back, it may have an advantage to that. However, on our current form, I don't fancy our chances unless there's something drastic that goes on this week. Like I said, possibly playing some Aubameyang in the game against Dundalk, get some confidence back in front of goal. Potentially we can come out and give Burnley a good game and get the fans back on side with a win. I am going to be confident-ish and stick by my boys, but I do think that we will concede a goal. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to us.
Fair enough. I think you're going to... Here's the thing. I think you're going to score a goal. And I think you're going to score a goal in the first half, but it's going to be ruled off for offside by VAR. And at that point, that's when you're going to see the turn. You're going to see that rock coming back in. Burnley have got Nick Pope back fit. Ben Mee and Tarkowski are back fit. So they're going to start being harder to break down again. I think they're going to catch you out on a counter. Big Chris Wood header. So for me, that's 1-0 to Burnley.
Okay.
Big game after that, or before that actually, on the Saturday, isn't it? But it's a neutral for us both. Manchester Derby. Manchester Derby.
United at home to City.
Blue versus red. Go on. I'll let you take this one first.
I think it's going to be, in all honesty, I think it's going to be a whitewash. I know with derbies, you do have form goes out of the window for it, but we have seen United have a pretty hit and miss season so far. They have got have they got Champions League this week? Yeah, I think they have got Champions League this week because I think they still need a point to qualify. Possibly. So I think that's not at their advantage. City are already through, so they can team. I think City, again, this coming back to the whole tier thing, I believe that Manchester is an area where we can't have people back into the crowd or into the stadium as yet.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I think that doesn't play into Manchester United's favour. City have hit a bit of form. They've looked like the City of last season. United have been pretty hit and miss. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to City.
Ooh. Okay, that's almost similar to mine. City, I thought we were going to romp Fulham at the weekend. And they couldn't quite get... Was it Fulham they were playing? Was it West Brom? It was one of the lower down teams. But they couldn't quite get it going. They did win. They scored a few goals, but not as many as I anticipated them scoring. They have...
It was only 2-0 or something.
Yeah, they have hit a bit of form recently. They do still, however, look a little bit shaky at the back at times. So I can see them winning the first half because they are more prolific than West Ham are, and going 3-0 up at half time. And then being a little bit lacklustre in the second half where Manchester United seems to come alive. I don't think they're going to have enough. I think by the point that Manchester United get to, City are going to have wised up and either sit deep or possibly get another. But I've gone for 3-2 to City, only for the fact of I think United will bring on a Fernandes and a Rashford, and that it changes the team completely. They're two quality players that seem to boost that team. But I just don't think they're going to have quite enough to topple City. But 3-2 for me. That's where we're going to go with that.
Perfect. All right, so that's the prediction sorted. I just want to throw in actually just one thing before we do go on. For anyone watching on YouTube, if you don't have the time to sit down and actually watch us on the YouTube and look at our lovely faces and our fabulous kits behind us, we are available on various podcasting streams. So Anchor, Apple Podcasts,
Spotify,
Acast, Spotify. So where if you don't have the chance to sit down and actually watch us, you can take us away and listen to our audio friendly versions. And likewise, if you are on audio, are available on YouTube as well. Just look for the Kettle Trophy. That is where we belong. Our videos are all there. We've got various videos on there, various challenges and stuff. A lot of plans for next year as well. So make sure you are subscribed for either the podcast only version or the YouTube video version.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to throw that into there.
Only for business. Only for business. Sorry, I'm just trying to make my own thing up here. That wasn't clear. It wasn't cleared. It was just it's foggy out. So I thought foghorn. Any other business?
Right. So we've already covered quite extensively the Arsenal subject. Leading on from a former Arsenal subject, one thing I wanted to talk about, the form or the recent form of Olivier Giroud.
Ooh, yes. Annoyed me a little bit. And there's reasons behind that. West Ham were linked with Olivier Giroud as a January move. And where he wasn't scoring goals, I thought, hang on, I like him as a player. He's won me a lot of money in FA Cup finals.
That's what I was just about to say.
But no, not only that though, is he knows where the goal. He's France's second top goal scorer ever, I believe. He knows where the goal is. He might be getting on in age. He may not be as mobile, but you compare him and Haller. I would pick Giroud every day of the week. Right, he scored 4 in the Champions League. He started against Leeds and scored another. I can't see him being dropped. I think he's going to go on a run of form here. And already we've seen the likes of Inter Milan register an interest. And Barcelona have allegedly registered an interest. And I don't think we can compete, if I'm honest. And that's frustrating me a little bit. So as much as I want to see him come to West Ham in a good vein of form as well, I can't see it happening. If Chelsea let him go, it will be in the summer. If he's scoring goals, why would you let him leave?
Mm-hmm.
If he's not scoring goals, but he has been this close to the transfer window opening again, the big boys are going to come in for him on a cut price deal. And so it frustrates me. I like to see him scoring because I like him as a player. I don't like to see him scoring when we're trying to sign him in January.
Yeah, and I think one of the frustrations for me is, as you quite rightly said, he knew where the goal. I think with some of the signings that we made at the time that he was kind of being phased out of the club, I think it was all wrong. And I quite openly said to you guys that I was a little bit gutted that he was going to go because, I mean, he certainly turned up. Whilst I don't think he scored in the Europa League final against us, he certainly contributed to the efforts of the team. I mean, he's very Marmite, I think, for when he does play, because I mean, by God, can he hold the ball up? And as you said, he knows where the net is. He's been out in and out of the team pretty much his entire Chelsea career. But it's really weird because those periods where he's been out of the team and then thrown into the team, he starts banging goals in. And in all honesty, when my mate texted me the other day to say that the beautiful French crops up again with a goal, I didn't quite realise at the time that he'd managed to bag 4 of the goals. And you look at the goals as well. I mean, there's some classic trademark Giroud goals: near post, tap it in, near post header. I mean, he got the perfect hat trick in the Champions League. He got left foot, right foot header, and another one. And then again at the weekend manages to crop up with a goal. For a guy that's 34 years old, he can still do the business, and it doesn't surprise me, as you said, with the likes of potentially other clubs coming in from him overseas. I think he's in his final year of his contract with Chelsea anyway. So coming up to the end of January, I think other or overseas clubs can certainly register their interest. And if he does get the opportunity to go abroad, I think he will take it.
Yeah, I think the only reason he ended up staying in London was almost a 2-finger salute to Arsenal. Because actually, he was doing a job for you. He'd won your FA Cup. He'd been consistent in the league for you for a number of years, and you'd gone, oh, we've got this other Frenchman in actually, so you can get on your bike and go somewhere else. And he's gone,
who doesn't even make it into the French team.
Yeah, and you're like, well, okay, so I'll go to the other London club then that's after me, because there were a number of other clubs that were in for him then, and he's done it against you, hasn't he? He's gone, I can still do this, and I will continue to do this year after year after year. But yeah, unless he doesn't want to move from London, that might be a thing going for us. But I can't see it. If you go, right, where do you want to finish your career? Do you want to finish it at West Ham or Barcelona? Oh, it's going to be Barcelona, isn't it? Or West Ham or an Inter Milan. It's going to be an Inter Milan. And I wouldn't hold it. I wouldn't hold it against him. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him in claret and blue, but I would not hold it against him.
I think the difficulty that you're going to have is with his age. I know we're moving into that period now where, because of the science behind sport has moved on so much, certainly in the last 10, 15 years. I mean, you could look at players that were getting into their 30s and having to call time on their careers because of hamstrings and their weight being an issue and all that sort of stuff. But because athletes are so finely tuned nowadays, they are going into their mid 30s now. Granted, they can't play every game, but they're certainly making a bloody good go of it. So I'd be very surprised if he goes anywhere for more than a 1-year deal.
Yep.
And like you said, I mean, it may be the case. Happy, the family is settled in London and might not want to move. But if it's just for 1 year, and that's going to be your final salute to your playing career, why not take it overseas?
Well, I'm sure most clubs now would go, that's fine. You do that. We give you 3 days off on a trot. You fly back to home, so you do 4 days with us, 3 days at home. Milan's what, 5-hour flight? They're not strapped for cash.
I think it's about 3 and a bit hours. Me and the missus did it a couple of years ago. I mean, honestly, it was.
I've done that commute to do 19 miles before in traffic. Like, you know, I'd much rather be flying to Milan than I would be sitting in a...
It was cheaper for us to get a return flight to Milan than it was to drive to Scotland and back.
Yeah. So see that at that point, I would love to see him at West Ham. I've said this, and I will continue to say, I'd love to see him at West Ham, even if it is in a 1-year deal, and say, look, we don't want you to play every game. We want you to come on for the last 30 minutes. Pardon me. We want you to come to the last 30 minutes, and we want you to bang in a goal. And I think he'd go, if the money's right, I'll do just that. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
We will start you occasionally. We'll start you in all the cup games, and we might start you in the odd Premier League game. Fantastic. If it's a 1-year deal, he's happy with that. If he's happy to do that and would happy to agree to that, then by God, Gold and Sullivan need to pull their finger out and get it done sharpish. You know, day 1 of January transfer window opening, get that deal done.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
if you don't,
for that, he could certainly go for a 1.5 year. January.
1.5 year. Best is say 1.5 year deal, the end of the next season. But he's a proven winner. He's a proven goal scorer. And yes, okay, he might have lost a yard of pace since he was 28, 27, but he still knows where the goal is.
And he's got a mean scorpion kick.
Yeah. But when you look at the testimonial games where players are played in their 50s, 60s, and you look at some of the ex-professionals, they might have lost all the pace, but they can still ping a ball 60 yards and put it on a sixpence. They still know where the goal is. You don't lose that. And it is sheer natural ability. Some people have it, some people don't. He has got it in abundance. Scoring goals, get him in.
I think fair play to him. I think it's a testament to him as well, because he's been through the being dropped, not by one manager, not by two managers. It's got to be about 3 or 4 managers now, 3 managers over his time over the London clubs. And he's I think one thing that has definitely come out from certainly the managers that you have heard that you have heard from him is his level of professionalism.
Yep.
Is that it will always put the shift in training, and when he gets his chance to play on the pitch, I think he certainly recently he's definitely grabbed by both hands and running with it, and fair play to him. Just wanted to give a salute to the old gorgeous Frenchman that is Olivier Giroud. The other thing I wanted to speak about is something that's certainly dawned on me over the last couple of is Spurs.
Yep.
What do you think of Tottenham?
Shit. Well, no, they're not. Actually, they're quite good. It ruins the charm a little bit, doesn't it?
And in all seriousness, that is leading me on to my next question, which is, what do you think of their title chances are this year?
Now, here's the thing: when we made predictions for beginning of the season, I said Chelsea, didn't I? But Tottenham was Did I say City?
You said City. I went Chelsea.
Oh, okay. I knew it was one of them. I can't remember now. It's a long time ago. I know. I seriously considered Tottenham as contenders, and the reason I say that is not because of their playing squad, because that hasn't really changed much. They've brought in a few players. No one you'd go, oh, actually, that's 10 times better than what they had. They've dropped Dele Alli, who arguably was one of their better players when they were really pushing for the title. But they have brought in my opinion, the best manager left managing in the world, in Jose Mourinho. He is a serial winner. People don't like the way he plays all the time. And you could say, against you, the second half was very, very negative. However, they won that game 2-0. If I'm winning 2-0 every week, I don't give a monkey's how our team's playing, because I'm winning 2-0 every week. The thing is with it, is it's not 2-0 every week. They'll win 6-0 next week, and then 4-0, and then 2-1. And they might lose the odd game. But with him in charge, he started to get them playing how he wants them to play. I love his cheekiness. At Manchester United, it seemed like he hated the world. And I think he fell out of love with the game a little bit. But I think that's because of the way Manchester City is set up. Not Manchester United is set up. When you look at the managers that have failed there so far since Ferguson has left, Moyes, okay, yeah, he went for a bit of a weird patch with United and in Sociedad and Sunderland. But arguably at Everton, solid manager. At West Ham, proving solid manager. Louis van Gaal has travelled around the world and been a winner in several different countries. Then Mourinho, who has won arguably everything there is to win. Still can't get it right. Now they've got Solskjaer, who everyone's saying is fantastic, but actually I would say he's doing the worst out of all of them. I feel like the Edward Woodward, whatever his name is, Wood, whatever that saying is. has ruined that club. He's ruined that club. I like it. Not going to argue that point. It's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Jose Mourinho. But he finished second with that team, and he said that was his best achievement in all of football. And for him to say that is something, isn't it? You know, he's won Champions Leagues, he's won Premier Leagues, he's won FA Cups, he's won League Cups. I finished second. That's my best achievement with that Manchester United team. He's gone into Tottenham. He's brought in a few players that play his way. And now look at them. Son and Kane are on fire. And every time you play them, we got a result against them here. But that's just that's the West Ham way. That's what happens. Doesn't matter what's happening. That's what happens. Apart from that, I will look at them as favourites for every game this season. Because they're just unbelievable. And with him at the helm, with his tactics, they're gonna win something. I said that they're gonna win something. Whether they win a League FA Cup double, whether they win a Champions League, are they in the Champions League? They are in the Champions League. No, they're in Europa,
yes. Aren't
they?
Yes, yeah.
So whether they win Europa League, whether they win a combination of them, I'm gonna say it now. I can see them winning the title. As much as I don't want them to, because being a West Ham fan, I can see them winning the title, and I can see them winning it quite comfortably. The thing that goes against them is in recent years, under Pochettino, they have been bottle jobs.
Yep.
Mourinho, I can't see him bottling it. I think he will murder a player before they bottle it. Or if they bottle it, I should say. He knows how to win. He knows how to win. Okay, it might not always be pretty, but he knows how to win. And there's Spurs fans that I know that love him because actually they know he can win and they're loving it at the moment. And I know Spurs fans who hate him because, we play really negative. And I guarantee you they will be cheering all the same if they lift the Premier League title. Doesn't matter how they win it. If you win 1-0 every week, happy days.
Yeah.
Happy days.
I've got to be honest. There's it's something that we have discussed quite frequently on this year. Certainly is, and you've actually I think been pretty spot on. Obviously, it's yet to be seen if it actually comes to fruition. But you have said on a number of occasions about Spurs winning something this year.
Yeah.
Now the cynic in me is like, yes, I hope they get reasonably far in a competition, but then they have a Spurs and they slip. I mean, we had one of the worst seasons last year, and we still managed to walk away with the FA Cup. And I know there were a lot of Spurs fans that were spitting feathers because of we had one of the worst seasons that we'd ever had, and we still won more than them. But I've got to be honest. When at the start of the season, when we had these discussions, there was a part of me that was thinking, or the arrogant part. And you know me, I'm not an arrogant person.
We'll finish above Spurs.
Yeah. But there was a part of me that was like, yeah, right, Spurs ain't going to win shit all. They can't even win the Audi Cup this year. And that was the attitude I had. Now that the tables have turned and we're starting to see the fruits of Mourinho's labour, I've got to be honest, mate, I am worrying the shit out of myself that they are going to do well this year in one, if not more than one competition.
But here's the thing. They release pictures of them training and videos of them training. They're playing volleyball. They're playing cricket. They're playing bowls. They ain't playing football. They play football on a Saturday and they win. The thing that's going to, if there is a downfall to Tottenham, will be a loss of confidence, which if they keep playing as they're playing, all those players have bought into how Mourinho wants them to play. You look at an example of that, Steven Bergwijn. For Holland, very, very attacking player. And it is one you would say is creatively, what's the word for it? He's an asset to have, but he's not always one that you'd go, we haven't got enough defensive players in. This is a hard game. We'll drop him because we need someone who's going to... He's tracking back like there's no tomorrow. He's quite happy to play almost a wing-back role. He's dropping a lot further. He's not getting that creative freedom that he's had previously. He's not always getting forward as much. He does get forward on the counter and whatnot when he needs to, and he's got the quality there. But a player that formerly you wouldn't have said would buy into playing that way of football has bought into it wholeheartedly. And when you get those sort of players on board, where you go, right, buy into this philosophy, and then on the counter you do as you wish, and you win games. And that's what he's doing. And he's got everyone bought into the way that he wants to play, which is a scary thought. You think when he come in, originally at Chelsea, everyone went, who's this geezer? He's won a Europa League. All right, okay, whatever. And then he won three on the bounce, didn't he? And you go, there's something about him. He is the special one. He's got that magic touch back, mate. He's happy to be. Yeah. He's happy to. And I spoke about it before. The Spurs documentary. I watched it and I actually really enjoyed it. It was really well made. But he's got. He's happy in the job he's in. He's backed by Daniel Levy. It changed my opinion on Daniel Levy. Because before I would have said he's not necessarily the most footballing person. He's a very, very, very astute businessman. And I would quite happily have him manage my team any day of the week. He knows how to do a deal. And you can see that by the players that have been sold and bought over the years. They've not always got them right, but they've darn well backed that team. The stadium, I would love to go and see. And as a West Ham fan, that stadium looks the nuts. Not only because I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie and I want to walk on the roof, but that stadium is purpose built for football and for NFL. And they've got this part, and they're constantly building and striving, and they've increased, put back into the community at Tottenham as well, and increased the area around there. But he's a footballing person. He loves football, and I didn't really get that from him before. He's a bit of a geezer, and sometimes you think you're a bit of a numpty, aren't you? Some of the things, you can imagine him being a bloke doing karaoke at 2 a.m. in your house when everyone else has gone home. You're like, mate, I just want to go to bed. But he seems like a good laugh. I'd quite happily have a pint with him. But it's just, it seems like a happy place to be playing football at the moment at Spurs. Providing that stays the case, they're going to win. They are going to win. And it pains me to say Spurs are going to win. I think if we all admit it now, it will be a lot less harsh on us when it comes.
Yes, yeah. Oh, mate,
They still can't beat us, but they are going to win something.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to them. For what they've done so far this, I will quite happily hold my hands up and say, especially over the last couple of seasons, over the course of the season, they've definitely leapfrogged us in terms of the league position. Some of the times I like the football, some of the times I don't, or I very much dislike the football being an Arsenal fan. But the facts don't lie. In terms of the Premier League, they have got their head screwed on more than we have. We've just been quite fortunate, I think, with some of the cups that we've won.
Do you think, though? I mean, this is my opinion. I don't know if you agree. They've paid their dues. They played Thursday, Sunday football for a number of years. They went, and you can when you look back on it, you can see the development of the club. They brought in players, some young, Luka Modric, sold them on. Gareth Bale, sold them on. They brought in some old who'd been around the block, Rafael van der Vaart. Players coming toward the end of their careers and sort of the Adebayors at the end of his prime. And they brought them in and they took them to that Europa League level and they were solid there for a number of years. And then they had a little push. Oh, it didn't quite work out, come back. And now they've had that big push and they're there and they know what they're doing now. They've not gone like Sheffield United, who went hammer and tongs last year. Did really, really well. This year it's fallen off. They've very slowly built year on year on year. They have the occasional blip, yes, but they build it year on year on year. And now they're at the level they're at for a reason. It's not been a quick process. No.
And I think that's some things that Arsenal fans need to have a reality check about us as well. Because we have gone from 21 years, 22 years. It's a very much a style that was fairly consistent over his tenure, and unfortunately the game moved. We're now seeing someone that I think could arguably be seen as one of the brightest prospects in management, but it's going to take a bit of time for him to embed his philosophies into the club.
Yep.
As you mentioned earlier with the whole training thing, it could be that the training style is ahead of its time, very much like, as I said earlier, Wenger was when he come into the club. But there's definitely going to be a transitional period for us, and I think everyone's expecting for us to be competing there or thereabouts with the likes of your Cities, your Liverpools, and I'm sorry, it's not going to happen overnight. But Spurs certainly, yes, they've definitely moved. They've paid their dues.
They've paid their dues, yes. Yeah. Now, can we move back to Arsenal quickly? I've just thought of something that I thought about earlier, and I was like, yes. Now, Mikel Arteta, if he goes, right, who are you going to replace him with? Who would you replace him? Would you go with your Pochettino, who plays a lovely style of football but doesn't quite win anything? Because I know a man who I think would thrive at Arsenal.
You're going to say Allardyce, aren't you?
I'm going to say Allardyce. And the reason for that, you say about training things being ahead of their time. All the analytic stuff that is in football now and clubs, viewers, that's just what it is. Sam Allardyce was the first person to use that. The Opta stats, that he was the first person to embrace it, the analytics and the sports science stuff. He was the bloke who brought it into football. And you look at, at West Ham, did he do anything spectacular? No, he didn't. Was we ever in danger of going down? No, we weren't. Were we always solid? Yes, we was. Was it a hard game to play? Yes, it was. When you look at, like when he did at Newcastle and at Bolton, Bolton's probably the more preferable of the two. When he had a few of those flair players, the way they played football was unbelievable. You give him a chance at a big club who's got some big players, he's gonna cause havoc. Because we were hard to beat as a West Ham team with players who should have been playing in the Championship. We were hard to beat. The likes of Liverpool, United, the Arsenals, Chelsea's found us hard to beat. You give him players that are quality and you get that same hard to beat attitude into them. Bayern Munich.
What?
Are they hard to beat? Yes, they are. Would you try and grind out a point? Yes, that's a good result. Actually, they've got some flair players that you ain't going to get a point because we're going to score 6 goals. Arsenal have got that potential, but they're not hard to beat.
I think it would be an interesting experiment, but I can't see it as one that would ever happen. And I don't mean that disrespect, because I think over his managerial career, whilst he's not won much in terms of trophies, some of his philosophies and the way he manages players and clubs, I think, is very admirable. And I would love to see it. I would love to see it with a bigger club as to how he would do. But honestly, mate, I think if because he's not that key sign or the marquee signing as a manager, and I know for the likes of Mikel Arteta, he's not a marquee signing, but I think with
the face fits
his pedigree and his potential, I think that's one of the things that got him the job. But it may be the case that we may see a shock in the weeks to come, depending on how future results go. However, I can't see it happening. The only thing I can say is that I haven't got a Scooby-Doo as to who I would put in as manager of Arsenal Football Club.
Well,
if he was to go.
For me, it's got to be, and I say this, I wouldn't put Pochettino with him. He plays nice football, yes. He's everyone's best mate, yes. Does that work? No, it doesn't. What did Spurs win? Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, you get an entertaining brand of football, but you're happy with 4th every year again. And I think as much as Arsenal fans have been quite happy with 4th for a long time, I think this time you want to start winning things again. You want to start winning Premier League titles. So for me, it's got to be Allardyce or Sean Dyche. Again, another Who's ever gone, oh, we've got Burnley this week, that's an easy 3 points? Even when they're not at full strength, when they've got key injuries to their goalkeepers and both their central defenders, you still don't go, oh, this is, you go, hopefully we get a point here, because this could be an upset. You give Sean Dyche the keys to a Lamborghini, as in Aubameyang, Lacazette, your Martinellis of this world. Defensively, you're going to be strong. You're going to be hard to break down. You're going to be hard to beat. But going forward, who's better, Aubameyang or Chris Wood? Aubameyang, every day of the week. And I think that's where Arsenal go wrong. They go, right, Arteta, actually, fantastic coach. We know that. Pep Guardiola said he's the best coach he's ever been with, best assistant manager he's ever had. His understanding of the game is unbelievable, but he's very, very fancy, and that's all going forward. What's your problem? Well, I mean, you've been stronger than you have in previous years, but going backwards, conceding goals. If you start at the back and go forward, we know you can score goals. You've got the Golden Boot winner for the last couple of years. Well, he's certainly been in. His name's been in the hat. You've got Mesut Ozil. Can get more assists than anyone's ever dreamt of in one season. You've got Martinelli. You've got Saka, who can pull up trees. And I think are two of your biggest players. They're three biggest players for Arsenal for me. Saka, Martinelli, Gabriel. You can keep hold of them and build a team around them. You're on to a winner. Keep playing like you are. I think all three of them are gone, personally. I think they're all going to be snapped up. But you give Sean Dyche the keys. You say to him, but let's be solid. Let's be hard to beat. And every week people dread going to Arsenal. Makes it hard to win. Makes it that game no one really wants to play. And then all of a sudden, boom, let's turn it on. Let's go attacking. Because we're already hard to beat. No one wants to play us because it's a horrible game. I think that's the sort of manager you need, personally.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that Arteta is going to be the best coach never to be a good manager. He's going to be the best assistant manager ever, but he's never going to be the best manager.
I think he's going to be given until the end of the year regardless.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens at the end of the season, depending on where we finish, I think it's going to be.
I think you finished 17th and win the Europa League. It's a good season, is it not? Because you win the Champions League next year. No one's going to remember the league position.
No.
When Chelsea won the Champions League, they finished 9th. No one remembers the league position. And remember, we won the Champions League that year.
Yeah.
Oh, difficult.
It's yet to be seen. I think two more transfer windows, I think, for me. It gives them a chance to get rid of some of the deadwood and to bring in some of the players that we possibly can or can't afford. But again, I think conversations for a later podcast. Personally,
I think that you've just hit the nail on the head there with
the word of the week
being hashtag 2 transfer windows.
Yep.
If you've made it to the longest podcast, through the longest podcast ever, let us know by hashtag 2 transfer windows in the comment section below on YouTube, please. It's been productive. It has been the longest one ever.
Yes, even our first one.
Do you feel better about yourself though, now you've got rid of all your Arsenal stuff?
I feel that this has definitely been a venting for listening, if you have made it this far. And I appreciate you listening, mate. It's not very often that we are in this position, and it's certainly not a comfortable position to be in. But it's been good to rant about certain things. I can
compromise. I can sympathise. It's usually the other way around, mate. We're usually in that position ourselves, so yeah. I know how you're feeling.
But yeah, shall we draw that to a close then?
Let's wrap this thing up.
Lovely stuff. So yeah, as we said earlier, we are available all varying streaming formats for your podcasts. That's a beautiful phrase. If you want to follow us on social media, if you go to our Twitter profiles, we've got various different social media platforms that we're available on via Linktree. So we've got Facebook, blah 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 blah. FDT-TV.
Subscribe,
like us, comment, check out other videos. Like I said, watch out for our previews. Check out the Buddha belly. But yes, thanks very much for watching. I've been Mike.
I've been Ian.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.